Luck.
Hello, hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval. I'm Stranger Side, Community Ambassador for Collective, and this is, we do Collective, the community-created card game, cards that are on the subreddit and stuff. Today, we have a really, really fun panel for you. Filling in for Grief, we have my new temporary co-host, SpikeBerd.
Hi. I'm tired.
Filling in for Magneter, filling in for Empty, we have Magneter, who is the admin of Xandar. Say hi, Magneter.
Hello there.
And our special guest, even though he's fresh off cooldown, is Mystic Squire.
Hi.
Okie dokie then. Let's hop straight into it. It's Mother's Day. We got to get back to our mothers, except for me. Reocurring Accident is a 1-drop spirit action from Tutela with rebound and target unit shift 0. So shift is this, it's not a new keyword, but it's a new keyword. It's a thing Bonk's been doing for a while. Replaces you with a random unit with a base cost adjusted from the original. Here it doesn't adjust at all. I really think this is beautiful, first of all, because obviously the amazing render work done by Spike and the combination of 3D and 2D art that just creates this really, really awesome, interesting piece. Very different from what you normally do, and I thought it was really cool. So as far as usefulness goes, this is a world's wackiest removal, right? So in food decks, this hits food decks really, really hard because it turns your, I think it actually makes beggars disappear in standard. Is there a 0-drop unit?
If one of the cards that we're talking about later on the show gets in, then no, it would not kill it. It would actually upgrade it.
Well, okay, but yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
It could make it into garbage, other stuff into garbage.
Right now, it will just kill it. Yes.
Right now, it'll basically just kill stuff. So Spike, what do you think about the card? Tell me about your process.
So I've always been on board with Bonks trying to get the shift wording to be a thing, and I just think this is a pretty simple effect that I think could be useful. Funnily enough, 2 of the archetypes been working on Green Man and pretty much Whack archetype are pretty hard countered by this, so yeah, made an answer to my own deck.
Yeah.
Take that, haters. All in all, though, I just think it's just a utility that people need. I think it will help flesh out Spirit a lot.
Yeah, I think it's mostly useful. I mean, it's against all sorts of decks that are currently meta. This is actually fairly useful. Even just using it as an exhaust and an exhaust with rebound is not necessarily bad. Magneto, what do you think of this? Oh, what?
Yeah.
No, he can go on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I don't like the fact that it counters my Green Man deck.
Oh.
How can I? It's absurd. How can you not let me drop 10 10s on turn 4 for 1 mana?
I'm sorry.
How could you possibly punish me for something so tiny?
I'm sorry.
But jokes aside, I do think it's a pretty useful card. I think I've probably used it against dragons, for example, because they have a couple of end of turn effects or horde effects, I guess, which this would pretty much stop. Like, I mean, any removal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is just a very, very versatile tech card. And I love stuff like that. That's what I made Deface to be originally, before someone's like, no, let's make 2-mana silence, really rip their face off. Mystic, what do you think of this?
So my opinion on this card is I like this because it kind of allows more design for Greenmen. Since currently Greenmen are in a state where right now they gain stats really fast if you can draw your green trench coat trio. Or basically you draw that, you copy a bunch, and Greenmen start getting stats really fast. So this is kind of a nice tech card that allows us to print more Greenmen support without just dominating the meta of just this really bland deck of like copy and paste a bunch of Greenmen.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we have this big dynamic between cheating and playing honestly, and those are the only 2 archetypes.
So formats come together. They're determined about.
How many 1-drops do we have actually?
We have a good bit of 1-drops.
We have
a lot.
No, because I just thought it would be very funny to have a Reoccurring Accident shift a green man into a green man.
Oh,
It
yeah.
can happen. It can happen. Very unlikely, but it can happen. There's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
1-drops.
That would be very funny.
Oh, this got in. Okay, let's talk about. Cratermaker is an 8-drop strength 8/8 dinosaur from nowhere in particular. Go, Chris, with smoking some Kodama here. Slam and entrance. This duel is an enemy unit. Here's what slam is, because that's a thing now. The first time this deals damage to a unit each turn, deal that much damage to each adjacent unit. So this is a little pocket one-side board wipe. You're basically going to kill a unit. You're going to take down probably 2 other units with it, leaving a big hole in their board. This can sidestep untargetable. This is, oh man, this is a menace.
It's Cleaving Strike from Hearthstone, basically.
Yeah. Things I do like about this card. I love the art. It was actually originally conceived for one of my prompts in the Submitted for Your Approval competition, and it was reused here. I think that's really good. I do like parts of Slam, and I'm going to get to that in a second. And I do like the idea of a big dinosaur. Things I don't like about this card. No realm. Are you kidding me? This was the easiest thing to come up with an answer
Get
for.
cosmetic updated. That's not too hard.
I know. Well, okay. And the other thing that frustrates me, and this is deeper, is like, I don't know if there's a lot of interesting space for this. I feel like instead of just being the first time this deals damage, just have it not stack with itself. And then you can make a lot of really interesting designs with it.
I feel like the
no.
first time it was blocked was A, for readability to the player, and B, it probably was just easier to block, because let's be real here, adjacency stuff is already like
Yeah.
Yeah,
tough for
that, and also, yeah, it's possible that that it would just break at some point. That would, I think, like Andrew would have to change it. But also, I think that this actually leaves more space for designs with it, because I think it's even on its own, you could not put it on almost any low cost unit, because things can very easily spiral out of control. On an 8-drop at that point, it's quite late in the game anyway. But on a lower drop, if you somehow manage to make it deal damage with an ability, or to multiple enemies, say you massive many-man it with, I mean, I don't know actually. Does massive many-man copy summon effects?
It copies entrance, which is what this is.
This is interesting. That is true.
No, but I was thinking about something else. But still, I think that
You
the
can-
first
you know,
time,
you combine
first
it
time
with
each
something
turn
like,
is actually very good for it.
combine it with something like Mountain Pig, the entomb that dies, and then you just like cleave the entire. Well, it would actually only cleave the first thing that hits.
Yeah, no,
Actually-
I'm gonna do this with what do you call it? Sweet Ascent Kodama, mass it together, and then I'm gonna gain 60 life.
I hate it. I really do.
That's not the best way to get HP.
It's a funny way of
The
getting
best way to get
60
60 HP.
It's a funny way to-
How about I just use Green Man and put a life bond on into using that vampire fangs thing.
Well, at that point, then you're just building up a combo.
Well, yeah, but 60 life in one go, that's the way to do it. Anyways, y'all have both talked a little bit on this. Mystic, you have anything you want to add?
In terms of the slam keyword, I'm kind of with you that the slam keyword in general really feels like it should just be every time this deals combat damage. Now, I haven't looked at the blocks. I don't know if it's the first time because of some blocking disaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, every time this deals combat damage, I feel like would be really nice. It would make a lot of sense and stuff. Like if you put slam on a Pancat, like why is the Pancat slamming with like a single ping? I mean, I guess.
I
But
mean,
also
like,
it's-
that applies to a bunch of keywords. It's just like, why does this have override?
Well,
Why
but
does
that's
this
the
have
thing
life
that I
gain?
think me and Mystic are getting at is it doesn't feel like a keyword specifically because of the first time clause.
The alternative for this would have been cleave, and I don't think cleave would have pretty much the cases that slam wouldn't have made sense. Cleave wouldn't have made as much sense either.
Okay.
And I think this is fine.
Yeah, but I mean it's already pretty much settled science.
It's
Starts in the game
semantics.
now.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if it gets thrown in the update.
Run!
The RHAG Shaman is 2-drop strength, 3/2 dragon, Lizabo, demon, arcanist, Paella, I don't know. Entrance, if you have only strength cards in hand, draw an action. So Płapka, designer of this card, artist of this card, doesn't like, or accidentally created a menace that is known as Shifter. And Shifter allows you to run tricolor good stuff. And so the thought was, how do you increase diversity and prevent people from just running tricolor good stuff? Well, you make stuff that has to be run in a more monocolor deck. We've already talked about it a little bit on the show, I think. Only thing that really bugs me is I like neutrals. The majority of cards I design are neutrals. I love making cards that are flexible and fit in a wide variety of decks. And a lot of my decks are running good chunks of neutrals. So this is not the kind of card that appeals to me because it says I can't run my neutrals. Besides that, it's a fairly interesting thing. It gives you a versatile action tutor, and it's stylish as hell. It is so beautiful. Mystic, I'll let you go first on this one.
So something I was thinking about is now we have splashing support. Now we got mono support. But what does that leave neutrals? Because our game, we have these neutral cards. The neutral cards tend to be actually pretty good, unlike Hearthstone, where their neutral cards are just, they're weaker class cards or in general stuff like that. But in our game, neutral cards tend to be like just as strong as any other card. They're not, affinities don't tend to get stronger cards. So I'm thinking this, I see it, and personally, I really like the design. I'm not saying this is a bad design or anything. I really like this design. I like deck building like restrictions like this, where it's you have to have only like a monocolored deck. I really like that. I'm just saying, like, the neutral cards, I wonder if neutral cards are going to see that much play. I guess they'll still see playing shifter decks because they can still run them. But it seems like just these other cards will give so much support to like monocolor and off affinity that neutral cards are kind of going to get left behind.
Yeah, it would be cool to see like a new version of egolessness for this new standard. I would be interested in seeing something like that. But yeah, as far as this design goes, it's pretty cool. Spike, what do you think?
I love this design, for the record. I think it's fine. And the thing that has been making me a little bit perturbed is this idea of if mono support starts getting into game, that neutrals will certainly be shifted out. And the answer is no, they won't, because there's going to be decks that exist that aren't mono support, and there's decks that are going to exist that aren't shifter support. And on top of that, just conceptually, the idea of neutral matters, while fine in theory, without done and with proper execution, if you have a deck that is most primarily neutral cards, that means that deck is going to be the same.
Yeah.
It does not matter what hero you're running, because the decision making is thrown out of the hero. The fact that this doesn't include neutral cards, what Mystic said, I disagree with personally, is that the thing about class cards or neutral cards is that they offer effects, and sometimes unique effects, but most of the time it's just effects that other classes normally don't get access to, with a caveat and some other different way of doing it. And the reason that they're usually quote unquote weaker is that if they were all in all good, you would have what they called neutral stone, where it was just everyone running the same couple of core neutral cards, which this dissuades again, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, it's a great good problem. But yeah, I think that it's a way to solve the problem posed by the essence shifter sameness. It's not a way that appeals to me personally, but as far as the people who are interested in this thing, I think it's really cool and really stylish. Magneto, what do you think?
To be honest, yes, a lot was already said.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough.
One thought I had though, how much would dragons use this? How much mono are dragons? Or how mono are dragons?
The thing is that Proma has doubloons.
They're
Those
neutral.
are neutral, yes.
Yeah.
So you'd
Honestly,
have to-
actually, that's good. That's good because honestly, Permo at the moment is, in my opinion, quite overpowered.
that's why I like it, honestly, because it
Arguably, even without Shifter, it should be quite powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's just go on. The Cacophony of Ideas is a 5-drop mind hallucination from Hallucinogenica. That's a fun thing to say 5 times fast. Mill 4, play and banish each action mill this way that costs 3 or less. Oh, this is cute. Very, very green for a blue card. It's got some definitely some neat ideas in here. First of all, we got some self-mill support, and we got some action spam support, and with a little bit of setup, this could potentially be a big jump in value. So what's the thought with this, Spike? Was this supposed to go into like an Ush package, or what was the idea?
It's there's a couple of things that you can do with it. It's based off of a magic card that I really liked, and it didn't see that much play in the meta, for the record. It's slightly tweaked collected conjuring, but same idea. You basically look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and you can pick 2 of them that are small cantrippy spells that you can cast. And the thing about how you would basically like go around breaking it, and by breaking just using it effectively, was just having cards that were really hard to cast normally, or just cascading a bunch of value was a way that you would do it. So I've designed previous cards like I'm saying this and I'm drawing a blank, but shocking Revelation, the card that's 3 mana, draw cards until you draw 5 cards of mana. That would go into this type of deck too, where I'm trying to design this little low down. I'm building a bunch of like 3 cost or less actions that you can slam at your opponent. It's like a mini Ush too, if you want to think of it like that.
Yeah. I definitely think this is interesting, and it does encourage you to really get thinking about how to build a deck. You got to, if you want to make the most of this, you might want to do a little bit of top deck manipulation or something like that. So I can see this in more older environments where you can get access like Scouring Orb or whatever. And Scouring Orb's not even a bad thing to necessarily hit off of this, because once you get all that stuff off the top of your deck, you now have a new fresh set of, finely tuned cards. Magnetar, what do you think?
Honestly, I don't know. I find this card very puzzling. I really don't know what to think about it. Not just balance wise, but even design wise, because it feels very. It feels quite expensive, but at the same time, it's also it also seems quite cool and flashy, sort of. And balance wise, even more so. I have no idea what's this gonna be like once it's actually played in standard.
Yeah. Mystic, what do you think of this?
So Magnetar said they weren't sure balance wise, so I'm gonna try and put a balance on it. I think this is fine. My reasoning behind this is in Mill's actions, if you build your entire deck around having 3 or cost actions, sure, you get to play 4 cards then, basically. But then also that's a deck building requirement. Now your deck is full of 3 or less cost actions, and you have to deal with that. Even if you don't draw this, you still have to deal with that. And even then, 4 or less cost actions aren't the best actions per se. Sure, they're pretty useful, but they don't like win you the game just by milling
Yeah, they're
them.
usually like pings, like your Vicious Stare, your Plasma Splish, stuff like that.
Yeah, you might get
Plasma
shocking
Splish discount in deck.
Yeah, it does, but then that's another story. That's Plasma
That's your win
Splish.
con.
Yeah, that's your win con. You play, but then even then, that's only 15 health burn, and so you still have to figure out how to
Only.
burn them 10 more with all your pings, and you get like, you don't
That's
get wand
difficult.
combustion off this. You don't get blasting wand, which are like 2 of the most important like action spam control tools. You don't get Twin Arcanist. You don't get like
But you can
Crimson
still run them.
Caravan. If you're running Essence Shifter for whatever reason.
Well, that's the
If it
thing is
also-
like even Essence Shifter gets kind of locked out of this because the banish clause means that you can't make the most of your rebounds. So
Yeah,
you do
there's
get
just,
Absolute Storm though.
yeah,
You get
That's
Absolute
true.
Storm, but then that's
You're
the rest of
spending
your
5
mana,
mana into it, so you got to already. Yeah.
and it
Right.
could destroy your own board. Absolute Storm is actually bad with this because you end up playing it, you have mana remaining over, you accidentally blow up your own board,
Yeah.
and
But
You
you're
can
in a
blow
clear
up your board
those
if you
they
don't
have
have a
punishment.
board.
Yeah, I was about to say if you're playing mostly actions, you don't have a board to blow up.
Yeah.
That's true, but still, it's just basically you play this.
It's
if you have
it's still
13
bad to hit
mana.
off of this at 5.
I mean,
And
it's
then-
probably gonna do. That's the thing about Absolute Storm though, is that if you hit it off of 5, like you play this on 5 and you hit it, it's 2, it does nothing. Oh well, you banished a card off of your deck, but
Yeah.
also it's intact. That's the beauty of it. That's why you run in an Ush for the record too. When
Yeah.
you play Ush, you draw into your Absolute Storm. It doesn't kill your board.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into the bulk of the actual active submissions. Starting with the Issgard Menhir is a 1-drop neutral 0/3 place from RHAG with can't attack and summon, reduce the cost of giants in your hand by 2. So this was originally done by Asdres, arted by Asdres, with a revision by Fadis, and boy howdy is it beautiful. This really, really interested me because I know that a lot of people, I think Wujek in particular, have been fond of this Giants deck, which is Giants in this game are big units that tend to have a lot of like self-cost reducing effects. And this is an interesting instance of that. Because it lets your cheap stuff get cheaper. Who doesn't like that? Comes back down to the balance I said between people who are trying to play the honest game and people who are trying to tweak the honest game and make it dishonest. So this is great for your dishonest collective. Magnetter, what do you think of this?
It seems rather useless in most ways possible. Because first of all, like you said, the giants that we do have often just cost reduce themselves. So
But this is better and faster. This is 1 mana that could get you 6
wait,
mana.
summon. But I think it's active,
No, it's just summon.
right?
So if you have
Yes,
3
it's-
giants in hand,
Even
then you play
I
this,
don't know,
you got 6 mana worth of value
right,
on
but
a 1-drop.
I get it, but you're discounting units which are already going to be discounted. Your plan was already, in the first place, most likely to just discount them to 0 cost.
More of a good thing.
Magnetter. There's only two of the only giants actually cost reduce themselves.
No, the other point is the fact
Stompers.
that, we don't have a lot of giants.
We have 7. You
Well,
can get turn
but
5
not a lot.
Wampy
I'll tell you what,
or Grandpa
I'd
Sleepy.
say that 4, but only 4 of those ever really saw any play from my experience.
I believe that the rest of them will see play. But I believe
you
anything
think
with the
that
card
Rafa
type
the
giant, if this
Destroyer-
gets in, has to be reevaluated around this card.
Not
Will you
Rafa.
play
Not
Rafa
Rafa,
the
but like
Destroyer?
literally every other card on here: Rot Magica, Wampy, Grandpa Sleepy, Mountain Pig Giant, Wild Whaler. I think all those cards would see a lot more play if you could just discount them by 2.
I mean,
know.
let's be honest. This is really high rolly because if you play this turn 1, you play 2, turn 2, you can play 3 Wampies turn 3,
That's-
which, and also in terms if you're running an all giant deck, Mirage Swamp Stomper does never, or it does
So-
not go to 0 cost.
So wait, so if
it has a minimum of 1 cost naturally.
So if you play Issgard Menhir, then you once again play it, and you have 3 One Piece on hand. You now will be able to play 3 One Piece.
Yeah, on turn
Quite
3, you win the
incredible.
game.
In the Magic of Christmas scenario, I want to
At
like
this
this
point, I
card.
might start suggesting my Circuit Champion combo.
Let's have
tangent.
Spike
That's
talk.
a tangent. That's a tangent, mate. No, but
I mean,
wanna
no.
like-
The point is that it seems rather unlikely to happen.
Fair enough. The thing, I want to like this card. I love what Fadis did. I saw the whole process that Fadis did to help tweak it up, and that man is a godsend and a saint. I just want to let him know that. But As silly as the Mystic Squire situation was, I do agree that it actually is high rolly. That if you're building your decks around giants, because we don't have much giant support right now. I don't think we have any actually. And if you want to make a stepping stone for it, I don't think this is the way that you do it, because right now this just reads that like 3 out of 45 times I draw into something that makes my entire top heavy deck really easy to cast.
Yeah.
And I think that there should be a different way, or if at least this should be on like a unit that does something else besides just reducing the cost of giants by 2 or something. I don't know. But
Well, I
right
think it
now,
needs. I think it needs to not get its value back after one giant. I think
it's in this weird place where like it's so niche, but the effect that it's doing for that niche is like really good.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think this needs to be statted at least a 3-drop with a body to match, because if you have even one, by the way, even at 3 with one giant hand, you're still rushing your giant out 2 turns earlier, right? So I think this needs to be at least a 3-drop. I don't know. We'll see, because Mystic's right. It's really high rolly. I think we've about done and said all we need to say on this card, unless someone else has something.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't think so.
The Infectious Yokai is a 2-drop strength 1/3 demon spirit beast from Yamato. With when this damages a player, they lose max mana equal to this card's attack. Now, I don't like dwarves because I don't like depriving my own resources, but boy, do I like depriving my opponent's resources. And I think this is a very interesting way to do it. This does have a high rolliness problem. If this gets in, the game ends pretty swiftly, and it requires you to have a really apt response ready. For this reason, and I think this is why it's doing so bad on the sub, I do think this needs a cost increase. And not even stats to compensate. I think this just needs a cost increase. It does still require you to solve this problem of how am I going to get this damage through. But this could be a game. This is a game ender, and it should be treated accordingly. Magnet.
And a game ender.
It can be.
2 mana.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the ideas.
I agree with you for the record.
Yeah, I like the ideas present here. I just think it needs a little bit of number tweaking. I think that's all this needs. Mystic, what do you think?
I think this is absolutely terrifying because this takes one swing, you buff it a little, it takes one swing, you just won the game. Your opponent now has negative mana. I'm thinking like you play this in a Spirit Equipment deck, you play Rusted Fate Cutters, this is now like a 14, 17, it has overrun, it hits the opponent, they lose all their max mana, they can no longer play the game. Like, even at 3 cost, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
I think this needs to be like 8 cost, that's a 1
4 or 5
or something.
4 or 5 because you still have to buff it.
No,
I think might be doable.
No.
I don't know. This card, it just can so easily just say, hey, you opponent, you can't play any cards for never.
Well, what is it? Dunewalker Assault is a 4-drop something that wins the game by benefit of 2 or 3 synergies. This is at 4 or 5.
You know the one synergy, right? Because mostly that's Archer, Dunewalker Archer, who now doesn't trigger of non-combat damage.
Well, yeah, but if you're gonna win with it, you need at least. Oh yeah. But you're not gonna win with that. You need several cards to get the job.
That's the point. You're not gonna win with that.
The thing I think about this card is that I think the text on this card falls under the classification of something that you actually couldn't really feasibly print on any card at any cost, because if it's too cheap like it is right now, then it's just, well, you buff it and they hit your opponent and they can't play collective anymore. That's not really the greatest idea. If it's too high, and like Stranger Side says, like, you got to keep the stats low on this type of thing, because this thing scales.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It becomes a really overstated unit that gets removed, and therefore it's bad in that sense. So this is either too good or too bad. My suggestion for this, maybe A, cap the amount of max mana that they lose. B, cap the amount of max mana that they lose at a like temporary rate, like they get the mana back eventually. Because what you don't want to do is that if in any case that this swings and this connects, your opponent already has a bad board to begin with. And this is just going to keep hitting in and feeding into itself, and it snowballs way out of control. This needs to be temporary, and it cannot scale as well as it can, and it needs to be more expensive.
Okay, so losing maybe a flat rate, and then because it still needs to get evasion or something. So a flat, I could see that, a flat rate, and maybe lose it next turn.
3 mana flying. When this hits your opponent, they lose 1 mana next turn. Sell it.
Yeah, yeah, or something similar to that. Yeah, I could get behind it. I think we've actually already finished our discussion on this. I don't have to do as much traffic policing. Y'all are just kind of jumping in when you want to jump in, and it's working out. But yeah, good ideas, Rexio. Just polish it. You'll find something. Quiet.
I promise you, it's not as complicated as it looks.
The Botamancer is a 2-drop strength, 1/3. Popular line. Nightling Arcanist from Sweetlow. Active, choose a flower to create. When you gain 3 or more HP, ready this. Gain 3 support and strength. Okay, Plopka decided to torture me even further with flower names. Or Super Sun did. Surfina.
Aksamitka Alkiermes.
Okay.
Thank God we have a Polish person on.
Oh yeah, Surfinia is permanently give a unit when this is targeted by a card. It randomly gains Duelist, Deadly, Regenerate, or Life Bond. Samika is permanently give a unit when this is targeted by a card, draw a card. And Alkierma is permanently give a unit when this is targeted by a card, this takes 1 damage. Whew. So they're all permanently give, so this can play into some of the red Great Place energies, play into gain 3, but that's in green. And it seems to be the case that these are referencing directly or indirectly various aspects of Sweetlow. So we got draw a card, which seems to be a callback to some of the Dusklings in the Scholar. This seems to be a callback to the Daylings, and I'm guessing by
Night Shift. It's Night Shift Merchant.
Yeah, that's got a reference to Night Shift Merchant. That seems really interesting that there's these cool little patterns I could find in the thing. Don't know if I like what was actually done with the plants in terms of like tri-blind, but whatever.
Ultra Super. You should have changed it.
Yeah.
Right now, he should have changed it.
Yeah. Spike, you want to go first on this?
Yeah, like he came to me with this card a couple of days ago, and he was like asking for some feedback about it, and admittedly he didn't tweak much about it since I've last looked at it, but I still like the card all that much. This is a card that it took me a couple of tries to like completely get the package for it, but the way that like Super Sun basically exposed this card is that like I still don't get why that's gain 3 HP more there. It's clause there. That seems really out there for me, but it doesn't really take that much away from the card. But the fact that you get to choose repeatedly what flower you can create, that means you don't have to. You can build a deck with just one of the flower modes. Like you don't have to worry about giving a unit when this is targeted by a card. This takes 1 damage. But if you're building a rage build, you can. And likewise, if you're building target, like target Heldem, you can go, Aksamitka, and draw a bunch of cards that way. And Surfina exists, I suppose. I still think that's the weakest one in my opinion, but I could be very wrong.
Yeah.
The point is, the fact that you get to choose constantly, as opposed to Night Shift Merchant, which they run out of inventory. Supplies are hard to come by now these days in Sweetlow and all that. But flowers are plentiful, and you can pick flowers all day and buff your opponents and target. I run Lux. That's my archetype. I love this card. It's for my archetype.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about it.
I'd be interested in seeing this in maybe like a KM build and finding a way to build this with as a game 3 deck, and maybe even do some more. I mean, because the flowers are 0 cost, so there's probably something nuts you could do with all those flowers. I do wish that Surfinia was something that didn't have this cap, basically, where you can only get so much value out of it if you're actually. You can't really bank on that mode because you're either not going to hit what you want off the randoms, or sure, I'm just going to get everything off of it, and then I can only get so much value out of it,
Well, that would imply that it caps off after you target 4 times, and a unit doesn't really get targeted 4 times.
Yeah.
Game.
Mystic, what do you think of this?
I think this card is a bit overtuned. I'm going to talk balance primarily because it's a neat design. It's okay. So I'm primarily talking balance here. I think this card is overtuned. Just having a card that says permanently give a unit when this is targeted by a card, draw a card. I think that alone is already like
Yeah, the draw
That's
might
already
be
seems
a
a
little
bit
bit
much.
too much advantage.
and
It does nothing though. That's the thing. Is that like I was explaining this to Super Sun, and I think that people are missing the fact that when you're comparing to something like Night Shift Merchant, is that you active in play. You have this in play. You hit the active. You pass to your opponent, or rather, you pick Akamsika. You pass to your opponent. You cast Akamsika. You pass to your opponent. There's already 2 instances that they can respond to whatever that you're about to target with right there, and then on top of that, you have to target it with another thing in hand. If this is the first flyer that you got, it is a lot harder than it looks to get that draw. None of these actually do anything the turn that you play them. By the way,
Yeah.
you have to give to your opponent a chance to play it.
Yeah, but okay. Hear me out. You play this. If your opponent, like, you just wait until your opponent doesn't have mana for like whatever reason. Like at
Okay.
some point they're going to run out of mana off initiative, or yeah, when it's not your initiative, it swaps to you. You combo this with something like Luke BB, where you're just making cocktails each turn. You get a bunch of fast cards. I guess you play this. Yes, they can. No. You play off
They
initiative.
will still have
and
the
then-
same number of chances to respond to it.
Yeah,
But the thing is, and here's where your argument basically is, oh, but I can now proc this multiple times without repercussion
yeah,
once that window's up.
yeah. The moment
I think
they
the
give
Luke
you
BB
one
thing-
turn, you can play a bunch of fast cards
No.
and just draw your entire hand. Or it doesn't even have to be a bunch of fast cards. You could give a unit ward and then play this on it. Like there's tons of target cards, and this is when this is targeted. That means if your opponent plays Blasting Wand on your card, you still draw a card. So this is still 0 mana, draw a card.
Yeah, I think this turning all of your equipment into +0 or neutral card advantage is a little bit of an issue. But of course, it does still give you a window though.
Set up to effectively turn something into the Arms Master that we had last standard.
Yeah.
Like, you play a 2 mana unit. It has to live. It has to get the flower off. Then you have to target on someone. Then you have to have Luke BB in hand, and then you have to have Luke BB go off. Well, I mean, they changed Luke BB so it goes off automatically.
Hold on.
You don't even need to have Luke BB.
Magnet, we should
That's
let
my thing.
Magnetter go
Luke
off.
BB was just an example of a high roll.
Yeah,
There's tons of target. They don't always have answers in hand. Sure, they answer that unit, but then you just create another one. You just create
gotta
another
get
flower.
a good window,
And then they have to keep answering. They have to have answers for every single flower you play. Otherwise, you just have
An answer
infinite
for
draw
your
engine.
3-card
Mystic, I'm gonna move this along. Magnetter, you have some
Alright.
closing remarks?
Arms Master was very strong though, I think. And maybe not very, but he was decently strong. When I played him Legacy League in my equipment deck, he was a pretty useful. He was a quite useful card, and I'd argue that this is kind of better. Because the thing is, with Arms Master, your opponent immediately knows which unit they want to get rid of.
Yeah.
With Kwiat, sure, they can get rid of Kwiat before it actually uses its active. But if it uses its active, then first of all, you do not know which unit they'll put Axamitka on. So this would mean that you would either play some really low-cost card, or pass and risk that your opponent will immediately go to combat, which you may not want. And furthermore, you can also put it on a ward unit,
And pop it.
at which point it's pretty, I would say, difficult to actually get rid of it in time.
And getting rid of it's just going to trigger it. So yeah, I am firmly not sure about this middle mode. It might be a bit too much. And I think this move's undertuned.
I think Serafina is pretty strong as well. Because all of those are really, really useful keywords. Lifebond is probably
Yeah.
one of the best cures overall. Regenerate is pretty good, I'd argue a bit worse. Duelist is also very useful, especially since now in
Yeah.
Standard we don't have really anything that you can... well, not anything, but we don't have that many cards that can actually give Duelist to other cards. And the Deadly... I mean, Deadly actually seems kind of weird for it, because ally targeting usually is buffing, so you don't really care that much about Deadly since you're likely...
Well,
just have enough
Deadly
80K.
you usually want on a small throwaway.
Yeah, so it feels sort of overkill, although not always, of course. And personally, I don't like Alkermes. I don't like Alkermes because it's in opposition to the rest of the two other
Well,
modes.
I mean, it's a toolkit
That was
thing,
more.
so
That
it
was
can
more
be.
so just like an option that you can pick that you don't have.
I
to
know,
pick.
but I don't like that it's an option that most of the time is going to be useless, because even in Rage,
It's not useless. It's just
you're
for other
not.
things.
But you're not really going to use this in Rage.
I
Because
would.
in Rage, you usually would want some mass Rage triggers, something like Flambeau of Spill. And even of the non-mass triggers, you have mostly something like Staptition, which is an active.
There's recycling
Sure.
fire.
Well, sure. But there was...
Yeah.
I can think of two cards which actually would work with this in a Rage deck. That being Duskshot and, like I said, Recycling Fire, which aren't bad, but I don't think that'd be enough to actually justify this.
Yeah, the
enough.
more you guys are talking, the more I'm starting to see your guys' point that there's each of these have at least some minor issues with them that I think need to be cleaned up. I'm just gonna move on. Axel, the Axe-wielding Axe. We've talked about this before, but this is just the original version. So somebody had a grudge they wanted to get out. 1-drop neutral 1/1 equipment with summon, give a unit +1/+1, and tomb, create Axel's Axe, which is an equipment with give a unit +1/+1. My statement before, and it still stands, is that this is the most pushed a 1-drop could be without being truly broken. I do think it's very pushed. I think it's Pancat levels of pushed, maybe a little bit past Pancat. I think anything else would ruin it. A lot of people just said, "No, this is just flat broken." Spike, what do you say?
I am of the opinion that this is just technically a little bit too bit on the broken side. I've seen all the iterations over here. I've talked with Zinker myself, but I still want to like hammer this home that like I do not think that this card should be a 1-mana 1/1 that like automatically. Sure, you can't play it turn 1, but automatically give something on your board +1/+1, making it a 1-mana 2/2 in neutral that has an upside on top of that, because 1-mana 2/2s is a vanilla stat line.
Yeah.
That's a vanilla stat line. Entomb giving another thing, framing it as a 2-mana 3/3, I feel is a little bit disingenuous considering the fact this can like come down a turn earlier than 2 mana. And of course, like I said, you can't play it turn 1 usually.
Yeah.
But there are still the cases of just because you get the +1/+1 after the fact that you can do a bunch of shenanigans with that +1/+1. This will see play in almost every deck that cares about having a unit-based board. Aside from like maybe Dunewalkers who don't like buffing attack.
Yeah. So yeah, I can definitely see this being really, really good in target, and I could see this maybe becoming the next Pancat. I don't think, but because it's the 1-drop that doesn't work on turn 1, unless I guess you got a 0-drop unit floating around. I think this is it's like I actually believe in the whole 2-cost 3/3 comparison. This is basically what that is.
But let me phrase it another point. That like there are cards that you necessarily wouldn't want to play turn 1 due to like vulnerabilities and stuff like that. Like back in the day, Sycomancer. Sycomancer was a 1-drop that like of course that like you want to like play it when you were gonna pop off and make the most of its value, but of course you could play it turn 1 and stuff like that, and you would get an insane amount of value from it. And I feel like this is in the same camp. In neutral. Not to the point that it would scale as aggressively as Sycomancer at 1, but like it's very, 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 very aggressive.
I have a pitch, and we've talked before about how to fix these cards. We came back with a lot of things. What if Hear me out. Make it a 1/2, and then turn both of these buffs into +1 attack.
I could see it. I could see that, and I could respect that, honestly.
And I think that's a really
And
good
biggest gripe. Make this a tune equipment.
Oh yeah, it does need to be tuned from Caratur, which I think they had on the second iteration and forgot in the last one.
Oh yeah, other than that, I'm actually okay with Stranger Side of the Zinker. If you're watching this, don't got any grudges against you personally, man. I like the card, I like the art. I just listen to Stranger Side. He's got the idea.
Just yeah, +1 attack. Turn those buffs into +1 attack and let it sit. Let it be a 1-drop, which I think it ought to be. Mystic, what do you think?
This is the ideal. In terms of equipment tribal, actually, that I was thinking about. I was looking at this. I'm like, this is probably fine. It looks fine. I was with Stranger on the side. It's kind of like a 2-mana 3/3. But then I'm looking at this more, and I'm like, wait, this procs something like Duchess twice. It counts twice for Rusted Fate Cutters. It counts twice for Junkman, which are minor things, but more specifically, Junkyard. This actually turns into a 2-mana 3/3 that gives you +1 card advantage.
Oh, I forgot about the Junkyard. That's actually kind of yucky.
Oh yeah, Junkyard.
Yeah.
Junkyard from the trash. You got that package too.
Yeah,
That's
so
another
that,
reason for this needs to be toned down a little bit too.
and then you can from the trash this to get back even more card advantage. And like
Yeah,
combinations from trash and this and Junkyard, you can get like +3 card advantage just by using all those 3 things.
All of these would be fine, by the way, if these are just giving unit +1 attack. By the way, I really
Yeah,
like
that
idea,
would probably
Stranger.
be
Yeah,
more fine.
I would say at that point, now that I'm seeing all the synergies, maybe make it a little bit easier to kill because that almost helps you at that
Just
point.
keep it a 1/1. Just make
Keep
the
it a
buffs attack.
1/1. Just change those to +1 attack. I think that's the only way this card's gonna get through. I think that's the sensible compromise position.
Yeah, if it weren't for like the trash synergy, equipment synergy, and all that, I would say this is probably fine as
Yeah.
is. But with the tribal line, yeah,
Well, the tribal line needs tune in it. Let's be clear on that.
yeah, tribal line needs to.
I guess you could say it needs
100%.
tuning. Ha ha!
I hate you, Magnet, or go.
So, with the suggestions that you've made to make above the buffs +1 ATK and the base body 1/2, that would be quite weak. I think.
Well, we haven't been like saying even reel back to make it a 1/1 if it's too strong. I think 1/2 might be fine.
Yeah, 1/1.
No, I
and
think
1/2.
1/2 would be just weak.
1/2 plus weak, giving +1 attack. That's already still that's still a 2/2.
Sure, it's still technically vanilla, but
But no, because it's still got the other
hold on.
X.
Yeah, it still
But,
has the other
but
X.
hold on. I mean, you didn't let me finish. On its own, it's still ignoring the end tube. It's a vanilla technically. So I'd argue that adding ATK is way less useful most of the time. Not all of the time, but I'd argue that a lot of the time adding HP is way more useful. And a 1-cost equipment that gives 1 ATK. It's absolutely useless.
It's useless if
It's
you're considering it
absolutely-
in a vacuum
No.
outside attached to a 1/1 that can block.
It's a
even
free
then,
blocker.
for
It's
most
2
things,
free procs for Rusted
I
Fate
don't-
Cutter.
but still, there are just so many more things you could.
So what you
I'm
said,
gonna-
what you
I'm
said,
gonna-
Magnetic.
Axel's
I'm gonna reel back to what you said. You said if you ignore the entomb, it is a vanilla. Which that statement alone lets you know where you've
Because-
gone wrong.
No, because it didn't let me finish otherwise. The entomb, sure, it would still make it a bit above vanilla. But it would
That's
be so
end of discussion.
little above. No, but it would be so little above vanilla that
It's
can
still
almost
above
ignore it.
vanilla.
and
It's
again,
above vanilla
and
on a
again,
neutral 1-drop though. That's the key.
the-
If it
the
was
main-
any
yeah,
other,
that's the
if
other
it was
point.
any other cost, it'd be fine.
The
But it
other-
is a
the other important point was the fact that the +1 ATK makes it technically a vanilla, but it's not exactly a vanilla. At +1 plus 1. Oh, we're moving on now.
We're gonna move on. Sorry, we can talk about this later. Abberant Calling is a 0-drop mind ritual from nowhere in particular. It's a rare. Choose a unit from 3 random ones from your deck with a cost no greater than your available mana. Pay all of your mana to summon it. Whew, this is interesting. So I almost wish Empty was here. It's always so nice to hear him complain about randomness. And I honestly would complain. Well, so this is interesting. Like I said, we have the 2 camps. We have the cheat camp and the honest collective camp. And this seems to encourage the people who are fond of, I'm just going to build, oh, great. All 3 random units in my deck are the one 5-drop I want to play, and the rest are removal spells. It's what it seems like this encourages. This encourages you to be really, really uninteractive in both terms of your deck building and in terms of your what your game plan is. The art is stunning, and I do want to take a moment to say that, like, this is Entropic Mage doing what Entropic Mage does really well. And I can't even throw it into his animal camp or his crystalline dudes camp. So there's that. It's really, really cool, really, really spooky. So yeah, this is the kind of thing that's great for like SP. This is the kind of thing I like, but I know that this is not gonna do well with a lot of other people, and I already kind of know why, and that's why it's sitting at 0. That's my best guess. Magnetter, what do you think?
Why would it be good for single player, to be honest?
It's just a fun quirk.
I mean, no, because
fun way
for
to get
colors,
for limited.
In that sense, yeah, I guess.
Limited, low deck when you're out of steam anyway.
I guess.
Slap this down.
My main point was that
Enjoyment is subjective, Magnetter.
But my main point was supposed to be that in Sentinels it has quite a lot of wars, which I guess if you use very hard, but anything below that I don't think actually allows it, although I might be wrong. But anyway, I don't.
But yeah, if I want to make
really
a
like
custom
this card.
Sentinels campaign with this as an event, this is actually a decent event card.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. I don't like this card because it's either incredibly useful or it's incredibly useless.
Deck building?
I know, but like in the occasions that it's very useful in, like you said, it encourages being interactive.
Yeah, it encourages
Even
being a
then,
degenerate.
Will you actually build a whole deck around that? I mean, maybe.
People will do it. People did it with Ooh.
You still need to have the mana.
Which, by the way, is the deck that you would probably put it in. Now that I think about it,
Right. Like you still need to actually have the mana. So you still need to be on the turn where you could otherwise normally play it.
It's a tutor,
and most big drops.
Tutors say you have to have the mana.
Yeah, but most big drops you could either draw normally, because Ash didn't need any tutors really, or you could tutor it in some other way.
Yeah.
With
it's sad,
some
though,
more
because
specific
on small
way.
drops, this is really interesting because you could tune your mana to figure out what you need. So this is actually almost more interesting to get small drops out. But I think the only thing this is really going to get used for in practice is degeneracy. Spike, what do you think?
So I normally don't. I saw this card and it kind of like piqued my interest a bit. I kind of think it is on the bad side, and I think it's a little bit on the weak due to the fact that the more mana you sink into it, the more diluted that your pool is, which kind of makes this the fact that it's a tutor makes you want to spend less mana on it right now, which is an unfortunate thing, and I don't know how you would exactly fix it, admittedly, but I do like the idea of weird tutor ideas, and I kind of just want to like showcase this one, just like, if not in terms of balance, just in terms of concept, and if anyone's out there, or if Entropic Mage like is watching this right now, that like if you could figure out, I personally don't know what you would change about this without completely reworking the card to make this more palatable for the average man and less so for like the people doing the degenerate stuff, but I would love to see it happen is kind of what I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
I love the concept. Maybe Mystic Squire has some insight on how they can make it better.
So I was thinking about this, and yeah, it's kind of weak at the moment. My ideal, I'm not sure how good this is. My ideal is you can maybe bump up to 1 mana cost, and then what you do with this is you make it so that you play a unit that costs exactly equal to your mana cost. And then that way, if you're like, oh, I have 5 mana left, or like I play this at 13 mana, I tutor out my Ush and play that, which can be kind of crazy. And that's why I was saying, like, you make it 1
Yeah, I
mana.
think having it be an
Kinda crazy.
exact tutor is. I mean, I can see why that would be unpalatable to a different group, the group who doesn't like consistency tools. But no matter what, you can't totally keep this what it is without. You can't make this not a consistency tool without totally reworking the card.
Yeah, and then instead of making it choose 3, you make it random, since then you can actually deck build around it. Because currently, I don't really feel like you can deck build around this very well, because that means for you to tutor out your big win con or whatever, you need to have like no units.
Yeah,
Which is not really feels good. And also, this wording hurts me because this says pay off your mana to summon it. I have no clue what summon it is. I'm assuming
force
that
play.
means I'm going to play the card.
Yeah.
I assume that means I'm going to play the card, and it's 3 random units, which with no cost, with a cost no greater than your available mana. I don't know, small things. Get the wording checked out.
Think about what this is. This becomes absolute calling or whatever, and it's like pay all your mana to play a card or to play a random unit from your deck with that mana cost. You could shorten it all the way down to like common or uncommon, maybe common. So that would be cool, and that would keep it close to the intent of the original, I think. And
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. If he doesn't submit it, I will. Oh. Relentless Researcher is a 1-drop mine, 2/1 Chrono Scientist from Xandar. With Entomb, you may shuffle a card from your hand into deck to put this in play. Oh boy, so this is the gift that keeps on giving. I actually really like this design. I love recursion, and it's interesting to see a way mine might do it. Obviously, you're losing the card advantage, but you could potentially use this to either proc shuffle effects when those become a thing, or you could just use
one.
Yeah, or you could use this to just have a big permabuff unit that likes to stick around. If you can find the right permanent buffs. Magneto, you want to talk about this first?
Well, so I've made the card.
That's why it's on. That's why your name's on it.
I've made the card, and some of the other chronicles I've posted this week anyway, as an almost desperate attempt to actually get Krana into the game. I really want to get Krana into the game, but besides that, actually thinking about the design, I also made it to actually support Shuffle Archetype, which is also something that I think could be pretty cool, or something that I was at least working on. And I also heard quite a lot of people, and maybe not quite a lot, but I heard some people talking about how first of all, Mind doesn't have a lot of units, and second of all, how there aren't that many 1-drops.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also sort of address both of these issues.
Yeah. Mystic, what do you think of this?
I really like this design. I think I'm really appreciative of the art, because we had a discussion with Magneto before about how his guys from Xandar were all kind of looking the same. I think this is really cool art for what it does, and I really like the Entomb. It pushes the archetype, but it's also playable by itself, because you play this and then you have a few win cons or whatever, and then you can shuffle back if you accidentally draw your really expensive cards. You can shuffle those back while keeping in the 1-drop. And it's not exactly negative card advantage, because this keeps a unit in play. You're basically just turning the card into another Relentless Researcher. So overall, I think good design. I would actually upvote this. I think well designed.
Spike, what do you think?
I love this design. I've already told Beamgunner about that. I like this design. There's another card in the subreddit right now, a leech that's also like it's a strength card, 1 mana that basically it also has an entomb that brings itself back. And I love the sticky units, and I think this card should get in because mine having a sticky unit would be very conducive to having a good low down, scrappy, ashy type of gameplay, and I think this would help out a lot.
Yeah.
While being fair, very fair. Hey, look, it's Relentless Leech.
Relentless Leech is a 1-drop strength 1/1 vampire insect from Paradise with Life Bond and Entomb. Return this to play without this Entomb. So this is another Shinbone Jouster, but instead of Duelist, it's got Life Bond. I think my biologist friend, if they're watching this episode, is going to get really frustrated that they called the leech an insect, because I don't even think that's the beginning of correct. But that comes down, there's always an interplay with tribes where you got to be specific enough where it feels evocative, yet general enough where you can actually make tribal decks.
Don't get me started on the time I tried making an ape card.
And
Everyone yelled at me to make monkey, and I'm like, they're not monkeys.
Yeah, and I mean, I think insect doesn't belong, not necessarily because it's wrong, but also because we just don't have a lot of insects to begin with.
That does
And
feel weird, but
could have left it as vampire, and honestly, I would have left it as vampire. I'm not going to say the thing I already said on the Discord about this card. I think a lot of people were following that discussion, and that's maybe not appropriate for my channel. As is, this is a cute little Life Bond unit. It's like Kodama, which I like Kodama. It's Kodama in red. Spike, what do you think of this?
I mean, I was discussing about pretty much what I think this is actually off of the last card that we were talking about, like in terms of like when that card was posted, I had sparked up an open discussion on the Discord of like saying like, how can we like help have like, you know, good earlier game drops right there, just help like build like this little foundation right there. And you know, I was just basically chatting with Annoyed about it. I was just like, you know, it would be really neat if there was just like a Shinbone Jouster for strength. And then, you know, he pings me about 6 hours later and goes, hey, look at this. And I'm like, oh, cool, it's Shinbone Jouster in strength. I got no qualms with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have Duelist, which, you know, makes Shinbone Jouster an insane card, but I think this is fine anyway, regardless.
Yeah.
Helps vampires out too. And insect tribal, I guess.
Magneto, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a overall pretty good card. Once again, addresses the similar problem which I've seen some people express that there aren't that many 1-drops. Also, yeah, I think it would be pretty cool to actually have more vampires. I've been trying vampires in the past, not really successfully. Could I use the Entomb for? Could I use the Entomb and splash it in Entomb poses?
Oh wait,
Would this be a good idea?
Oh,
I
yeah. Throw on
I
this
mean,
as a...
Did Shinbone Jouster rotate? If not, then just use Shinbone Jouster.
That's redundancy for one of the best Entomb
No,
effects that can go on
Shinbone is
Mortar
rotated,
Monster.
definitely.
Oh, if it is, then yeah, then you could do that,
Yeah.
sure.
So that's something fun you could do with it. Mystic, what do you think?
I have a pet peeve with cards like this where it's basically just a strictly better Kodama.
Doma was a very tame card. That's
I don't like the ideal of I'm going to take a card in the past, I'm just going to make a strictly better one.
As the guy
If
who
you do that multiple times, in fact, especially with like Salt of the Sea, which lets you tutor out for 3 specific tribes, which is an upgrade compared to just draw 2 cards for 3 mana.
Well, it's technically okay. So let me talk about this. As the guy who came up with the clever idea of taking 2 Kodamas and smashing them together to create one better Kodama, I'm gonna give some input on this. I think Kodama has a lot of other interesting things going for it. Rebound versus the Shinbone Jouster ability. Yes, you do have to pay the cost again. They're different, but there's also some other things to be gained there. The other big thing, Kodama is a plant. Plants in Legacy have a lord, a really decent one in the form of Thorn Regent. They also have a lot of other synergy in the form of stuff like Von Basil, and other stuff like that. For that reason, I call this a side grade. I do not think it's strictly better than. They're just different. They have
I
different.
can honestly agree with that, genuinely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bite.
Even though vampires are really good, losing the vampire tribe or losing the plant tribe is actually a hit, in my opinion. It is a switch and not a one that's strictly positive.
Also, Mystic, it's not strictly better because this is in a different affinity.
Yeah, it's just something I don't
Yeah,
like.
I can even
It's a pet
understand where
peeve
it's
of
coming
mine.
from.
So with the fact that it's a
but-
plant.
Think about stuff like Von Basil and Regretful Chopper. I see it.
Yeah. Conquest Call is an 11-drop strength exclusive action from Yamato. Sit down for this one. Buckle up.
Oh,
You gain 11 HP. For the rest of the game, after you draw a unit, force play and ready it.
Timium, Premium.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, good.
This is Sporium Morning. Here's the thing. There's a lot of reasons why you can either really, really like this card, really, really think it's interesting. There's a lot of reasons why you can discard it, just like this card and think it's busted. I'm gonna go out with the total fringe opinion. I think it should have been symmetrical.
Why?
Oh,
well,
that's
what?
honestly the funniest thing you could have done with that. No, legit,
What?
make this cheaper. Make this cheaper, make this symmetrical. That's so funny.
But why?
Oh my god, that's so funny. Oh my god.
Well, no, Magneter. Okay, so in Legacy, you could use this effect to kill somebody. If it was if your opponent uses this card in Legacy and you're running the right deck, you could use this to kill somebody.
What deck?
Wrath.
Oh, yeah.
What? Wait,
It's
what?
like-
Oh
unit.
no.
It punches its owner in the face. Red is the color of negotiate and spilled grail.
Oh,
But your
no.
opponent
Oh,
seems to have
no.
rough.
Oh, I mean, Magneter.
Wait.
That's just funny.
Actually,
Oh,
What's rough?
So yeah, that's my super controversial opinion I wanted to get out of the
Oh,
you
way.
rough.
ruined it now. I can't.
Right.
I'm just gonna be like, oh man, I wish this was symmetrical now. I wish this was. I hate it. You ruined the card for me.
Okay, Mystic will let you go first, since I kind of know where I think you're going with this.
I'm completely lost now. That comment. My mind is just like, what can I do with this now? What does this do?
Now your mind's on the Conquest call.
So okay, so in terms of how it is, you play it. Well, I mainly brought up because I picked this because Sporium was like, oh wow, people like this card, and I'm like, this is kind of the ideal. I believe it to be technically balanced because sure you can run 3 copies of Kadar. Oh, I get Kadar for 2 less mana, but then you have to actually draw Kadar this turn, which is a lot harder than I believe people make it out to be. Like it's really hard to just draw Kadar the turn after you play this.
Yeah, like there's other better ways to get out Kadar.
Yeah, there's better ways to get out
The
Kadar.
value
just
you're getting
wait
out of
2
this
turns.
comes from like finding ways to get other or to draw a couple small units rather than one big one.
Yeah, I think what you do with this is you get a lot of units that have the text summon, draw a card, rocked Magicka, dual bot, stuff like that. So you just you play this, next turn you draw dual bot, back its play rocked Magicka, and you just play a whole slew of units, and then all those get played, and then you just fill up your board with this.
Door to elsewhere.
Yeah, door elsewhere. You draw a bunch of stuff. You just play your entire hand. The thing with this and why this is still balanced is you play your entire hand. They play Absolute Storm. You don't have a hand. You don't have a board. You just lost the game.
Yeah, it
So-
actually does. You do lose something with this. You lose the ability to plan and the ability to
Yeah.
control when you're playing stuff. But you also gain a junk ton of mana out of this.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
also if you just all your cards have someone draw a card, you just die from
And you
deck
could
out.
deck yourself, yeah.
Yeah, you could deck yourself if you're not careful.
Why would all of your cards have someone draw a card?
I fantasy
you're
world.
playing-
How
Well,
would
it's-
all
it's
of
a reasonable
no?
way-
If you had so many draw a cards, that would be absolutely incredibly
Not
amazing.
the point, Mag. Not the point, Mag.
But
Anyway,
anyways,
yeah.
so I like this card. It's a neat ideal. It's just a little bit crazy because currently we don't have permanent effects.
Yeah.
I guess we have quest.
I think
So,
if
Maybe
if
that's
any
an
of-
ideal.
I
Turn
think
this
anything
into
that
a
would
quest.
have permanent would be 11. 11's a good cost. for
Yeah,
it.
11's a good number. I was thinking this could maybe cost 10 because it's a little bit on the weak side, I think. But
Having
this
as a quest
is
reward's
probably
not
fine.
a bad idea.
I think
Sweet
this
card.
people might actually like this more as a quest because people tend to have a soft spot for quests. Quests are fun. And then this is also just, it's kind of a neat ideal, and most of our permanent effects are currently on quest. I can't think of a single permanent effect that we have that isn't just stapled on as a quest with innate.
Yeah, or do
Drifter.
my crack idea.
Drifter.
Spike, what do you think of this?
I love this card. I love this card to death. I wish it was symmetrical now, and I hate you for mentioning that. I want you to know that. But other than that, I love this card. I think that if there was any niche for big costed spells, this would be definitely one of them. The only time I remember in my entire time being here that somebody posted like this big of like a cost for like a spell was, I think, Bonk. This is the week that Ush got in, that Bonk posted like Scrolls of RNG that like casted 4 really big spells. But the thing about it is that, you know, we don't have that many big spells to begin with, so it was kind of like, we had Neutron Bomb, that's right. Neutron Bomb was pretty big, but that's gotten tweaked to high heaven and back. But I think this is a good, so 2 ways you can go about doing this if this doesn't get in. 1, the Stranger Side approach. I like that approach. Make it 8 mana if you're doing that approach. 2, the Mystic approach. Make it a quest. I'd be okay with the quest. Overall, cool card. Also, before we go on to the next card, Stranger, I think you skipped.
Yeah, we're gonna jump backwards real quick, and we kind of do need to hurry. People got to go back to their moms. So, +2 Guitar Axe is a 4 drops neutral equipment from Concierge. I give a unit +2/+2 and triggered summon effect twice. Obviously cool. Invoking Chant's already cool. The name is just goofy for me because I don't like the D&D naming convention. That's just me being finicky. Obviously, it's got great art from Fadus, and I think it uses it well. I feel like it could maybe be 1 cheaper. But that's maybe a controversial opinion, so I don't really know. Magnetter, go.
Yeah, so the only thing, like you said, I think it's a bit overcosted, but besides that, I do like the card. I also don't like the name, like you said.
Yeah, I think it
I
just
really like
is.
the name, but I do like the effect of trigger summon effect twice. It's not really something we have on anything else, and I overall myself like summon decks sort of, so
Yeah.
this is pretty cool.
Like, Guitar Axe is already technically a play on words. Just leave it. Like, you know, you already got something cool going on in the name.
I think the +2 Guitar Axe sells me on the goofy concerto nature of it. I mean, I co-admin the realm, so I'm biased, but I think it's fitting. It's
Yeah.
goofy.
I think it's fine.
Yeah,
I
well,
like
it's just that might be a cause of some people maybe just don't like it, you know. Spike, go.
Fair enough. I like the card. Probably the same thing that everyone else says. That if it was 1 cheaper, probably reduce the stats, maybe like +2/+1, maybe on top of that. Other than that, I love this card. I want it in the game, and I love summon retriggering. This is great.
Mystic, go.
I think the argument for this costing 4, not 3, is that this is invoking chant, but neutral, which can be scary at times. I think it would be 3, maybe a little push since it's neutral. Other than
I
that,
think invoking chant needed to be spirit. I hate to break it to you, man.
yeah, if invoking chant was neutral, I think this would be fine.
That's the point.
free cost.
Invoking chant didn't need to be spirit. I hate to break it to you. Anyways, let's just go on. So jumping back on, Dirk Devilish Detective is a 3-drop mine, 5/3 demon spy from nowhere in particular. With summon, reveal each player's hand and the top 3 cards of their decks. Information games. I wish we let the detectives be detectives. I know I talked about spy and rogue, but we already have 4 detectives in the game. We could just let detective be a tribe.
I'm pretty sure he just didn't know that was a tribe. is all.
Yeah, like I disagree with spy here. That's not what a detective is. But that's just me and my class tribe initiative being finicky. As it is, really interesting. By the way, Azrez, your art's getting really good. I'm liking the direction you pick with it. Spend a little bit more time on shading the clothes, and this could have been a really great piece. But yeah, it's just information in a 5/3. Why did we pick this, Mystic?
So I was looking at this, and there's 2 things. First of all, how do we use this? Because I'm curious. What was is this like what was Azra's thinking that we'd use this in? Is this symmetrical? Do you look at both players' hands?
Yes.
Oh,
Does
yeah,
your
it seems
opponent look
indicate
at
you
both
do.
players' hands? Like, is it just you look at the top 3 cards? I actually think this wording needs to be a little bit more.
No. It is it is already self-sufficient. Reveal means it is revealed to both players. Reveal each player and the top 3 cards of their deck. When it reveal means publicly display.
Look
Both
at
players,
is the other.
That's fair. That's fair.
both players are aware of this information. Also, it's a 5 mana. It's a 3 mana 5/3. That's just good stats for the cost.
Yeah, and then the other thing with this is, I think this is a little bit too good stats for the cost because of Inquisitive and Visitor, it just looks at your opponent's hand. No, wait, this is symmetrical. Yeah, probably fine. Seeing this is symmetrical, yeah, probably fine. I was just mainly curious, how would we use this? Are we talking
Yeah, what
Lisica?
deck does it go
But then
in?
we have look at hand already. Is there something we can do with showing your opponent your deck? Maybe.
I think this is just more so of just like this is a baseline unit you put in. This is the draft chaff, not as an insult. This is your rank and file. Is kind of how I view
Okay.
it.
This is great in limited because your AI opponent doesn't know how to use any of the information it has.
I'm also unfortunate to inform everyone that the Aether has consumed Magnetar, but that is okay. He wishes us all his farewells.
Yes, he did have to step off.
He's
So do you have any
off
ideas what
the
deck
beat
this
with
could-
Krana.
Is there anything we could actually use this in, Spike?
The only thing that I could think really that you could probably do anything, and the key part of it is the fact that it has the demon tribe, is that you could probably do some shenanigans and legacy involving demons and stuff. That I don't know what you would do, but this is also, like I said, it's rank and file. This is help building out like a tribe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I have no qualms with it really.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it is okay. I now see why it has a spy tribe because even for a detective, it's quite a spy.
Like I said, he probably just didn't know there was a detective tribe. That's all.
Well, it's not on the cards, but it could be on the cards. The sleuth squad we could cosmetic them into detectives tomorrow. We cannot cosmetic them into spies. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, I'm saying we could add it. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's just hard to find something that specifically needs it. But it could just be awaiting a niche. Crystal Beamgunner is a 3-drop mine 3/3 Chrono Warrior from Xandar with summon, aim at a unit, end of this turn, deal 3 damage to it if it's still in play. So this is a unit only fireball, but requires you to keep this thing alive. And it's already a 3/3. Value-wise, I think this is great. This is maybe even a little pushed value-wise because you're getting a unit that's close to on par and also a spell that's worth about 2. And a good spell that's worth 2. It's worth 2.5.
That's because it can hit face.
Yeah, but that is partially because it can hit face, so I think that's a good compromise. Actually, really, really good art by Dia. I did want to reach out and talk about that. This is one of the more interesting Dia pieces. It's a little fuzzy, but I think that fuzz just kind of adds some stuff to the spots where it needs it. And yeah. Spike, what do you think of this? We had a technical difficulty, and it's resolved now. Spike, as you were saying?
card's really cool. I love the fact that you can just remove it and the removal goes away with it. There's cards like this in Elder Scrolls Legend that do a similar effect to this. Those cards, to my knowledge, as they were explained to me, were home to really interesting design spaces, and I think more in the future, more summons should seek to be, if this is gone by the end of turn, then the summon doesn't go off. I like that design effect, and it allows for strong designs like that.
Mm. Mystic?
I like this design. I think it kind of helps with the problem of, oh, if I have good board state, I can just pass the turn, because if your opponent plays this, then you kind of have to answer it. Or they can just pass the turn if you do. So you kind of have to, it forces you in a situation where you have to play stuff and they can still float mana.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I also like this design in terms of balance. This is probably a little bit pushed. But just a little bit. I think it's fairly balanced. It has 2 conditions.
Yeah.
And 1 cost going towards the deal 3 damage, which more or less is where it should be.
Yeah. So that's good. And I think that was the last one, and we're all good to go. I'm going to stop the share. So yeah, this was an interesting week. Sorry none of my other panelists showed up, and I had to come up with this ragtag group, and it was really good. Magneto had to leave early, but we're still finishing the episode. We made it. So thank you very much for Spike.
I got a haircut. I'm a new person now. I'm empty folder now.
So Spike, thank you very much for joining us. Always great to have you on.
No problem.
And thank you as well, Mystic, for answering the call when you were needed.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So keep on like, comment, and subscribe. Remind me why I'm doing this. Keep on voting on cards and keep on playing collective. Bye.
Toodles.
Bye.